Welcome back to another episode of BPL TV. We're here again with Ryder Dupuis, head of hard goods here at Marucci, and of course Liam Micah. Micah Gibbs here hosting us a little bit. But so what we have here, Ryder's brought in two of Marucci's bats that we've cut completely in half so we can see the inside of these bats. And he's going to talk to us about and answer probably one of the biggest questions that they get at Dick's, Marucci Clubhouse, Academy, anywhere.
In here,
yeah. People that come through the lab, yeah.
What do I use?
Right.
I've got a one piece. I've got all metal. I've got a metal barrel, composite shaft handle, and here I've got two-piece composite. So, we got a bunch of stuff to cover. But let's just start out. Talk to us a bit about the construction. Maybe some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that no one's ever seen before.
Yeah, for sure. So like Liam said, really in the industry, you've got three types of bats. A one-piece aluminum, a two-piece hybrid, which is a composite handle, alloy barrel, or you have a two-piece composite handle, composite barrel. So right here, this is our Cat 9 Connect. This is our two-piece hybrid. So basically what you have is your composite handle shaft, and then your aluminum barrel. All hybrids are going to be connected.
Take a look at this thing.
Yeah,
here. This is cool. All right.
All barrels are going to be connected to the handle by some type of connection. We can get into that later. But when you're talking about the actual construction, the reason hybrid bats came into play is that, one-piece aluminum bats, being solid aluminum, are going to have a little bit more vibrations to them on hits and mishits and stuff like that.
Now, this with the Cat 9 with the one piece, is it the same barrel design I see inside here, and it's just metal?
Yeah, you're going to have similarly across that individual line. You're going to have basically the same barrel from in to the middle of the taper.
I'm pretty surprised how stiff this thing is. Like, this thing's only in half. That's pretty rigid. So is that would you say?
That's by design.
Okay, so this is going to be stiffer. This is going to play stiffer than this guy. Is that right?
Than the one piece?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, it's not going to be
one piece. Are still going to be the stiffest bats.
Okay.
Out there.
All right. Got it.
But when you go to hybrids, years ago, some of the very first hybrid bats out there, I like to call them pool noodles. They were really whippy.
Right. Okay.
Over the years, players' tendencies have learned that you kind of lose that energy transfer if you have a bat that's too flexible.
Right.
So now people have been trying to get more and more stiffer hybrid bats. The reason people started doing hybrid bats, one, is to make the bats feel better.
Is it now? Right. Sidebar here. We were talking about your golf shaft a little while ago.
Yeah,
we made a little bit of a change to flex. And that helped.
Yep.
Is this a thing in baseball? Like, if I'm right, the whole point is like, do I use 1, 2, or 3, and what's best for me? Because these are all, we're going to get into this, but they all have the same level of hotness, right? They're all like right up to the top, being certified, or
for the most part, there are some differences.
There's a lot of differences across the barrel.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's maybe more hot area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll have a wider sweet spots in certain bats, but. Every bat is built to.
It's built
as high as it can possibly be. Yeah.
So like this, should we be thinking about the stiffness of the bat for the bat speed of the player, or the swing style, like a quick tempo versus a slow, like?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the bats nowadays, there's so many different options. They're built for specific types of swings and specific type of players.
Right.
What y'all are doing here in the BPL is to find the best bat for the player.
Yeah, well, for sure, and that's where we're fortunate. We've got a few options back there, and we can figure that one out, no problem. So what? Let's go back. Let's take a look like what's going on here in the barrel.
Yeah, so in the aluminum barrels, one technology that we've always used is ring-free technology. So. When BB Core was first implemented, a lot of manufacturers took some old existing shells from the previous standard that was higher performing, retrofitted some rings into the walls.
Yeah, there's like an I-ring in the middle here, so the bat essentially deadened out, and the other companies could sell off inventory they already had sitting in the warehouse, right?
That was exactly. That's right when we got into it. So we were able to actually design the first bat without any rings or governors within the barrel walls.
To the new standard.
And that was a ring-free barrel design, which over the last 8 years we've increased and evolved and made better. So you're looking at a ring-free multi-variable wall design. So one thing about aluminum bats, you're gonna have your true sweet spot. That's your
Right.
Your COM, like
Yeah.
that's
where we want to hit it.
everything. So as you get off of that sweet spot, usually performance is going to decrease. This part of the bat's moving slower, this part's moving faster but less mass. So we start thinning these walls out, and I don't know if you can catch that on camera, but the different variable walls as we get off that sweet spot. And what that's doing is it's for compensation. Right here, the thinner the wall is more it's going to flex and rebound and get your pop.
Right.
So as you get thinner walls off the sweet spot, we're trying to keep that level of performance as high as possible. So at the sweet spot, we still have to pass, the certification limits. So that's why you see the thickest section here.
Sure.
We're at the limit. But as you get off of that, usually where performance decreases drastically, we thin those walls out to compensate and keep that performance as wide as possible.
Right. Makes sense. Now let's take a look and see how this compares to our composite barrel.
Yeah. So then you get into, composites, and people started using composites because composite's a lighter raw material than aluminum.
This looks like rings on a tree right here.
Yeah. So this bat cut in half may not look like much, but within this, quarter of an inch thick barrel, there's anywhere between, now depending on the design, anywhere between 10 to 12 to 14 to 15, 16 layers of composite fibers, and not just the same composite fibers. You sometimes mix in different types of composites. They're laid at different angles,
Yeah.
all built for different purposes.
It's going to give it a different property, right? So the thickness of the material, the angle which the materials use, the resin, all of that contributes within the design to have maximum performance across a maximum
As
usable
far as you
area of the
can get
barrel.
it. Yep.
Now, and then with the down here with the handle, is that the same as this guy basically?
Yeah. They're going to
okay.
be generally the same handle shapes.
Same basic connection piece, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, what? I'm just thinking when it comes to performance, what other things should I know about how this is going to differ from my other two products? Because these are both essentially the same barrel.
Yep.
Right, and we've got different handle that's going to have slightly different properties.
Yep.
The composite handle is going to push more mass out towards the barrel of the bat, and it's
Yep.
going to have just a tiny bit
more,
Right.
MOI, a little heavier,
Right.
built for a different hitter.
But now all of a sudden we're getting into a completely different material for the barrel. So, is there variable wall thickness here that I can't see? Is that like the secret sauce that's inside the cutaway here? Who can anybody hit this? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, so I mean, when you start talking about composite bats, initially the reason they use it is as a lighter material, so you can build a much bigger barrel and longer barrel with hitting the same amount of weight drops that you can with aluminum. Aluminum is going to be a little bit heavier,
Gotcha.
so aluminum barrels are going to be slightly shorter to hit the same weight drop as the same size composite barrel. Then you start looking at, what's the difference between composite and aluminum for players? Are they going to perform the same? And that's no. Composite barrels, being that this one wall is made up of multiple layers, has to be actually broken in over time, because the nature of this design is as it gets impacted, those fibers are going to start to loosen up, those layers are going to loosen up,
Gotcha,
and they're going to
gotcha.
spring more and more and more. So composite bats, the player does have to be big and strong enough to actually compress those fibers and start to break it down so that it starts to increase its performance. Now, we do have to design composite bats that once they reach the performance limit, they crack. They show external damage so that there's not illegal bats out in the field.
Gotcha. Okay.
But there's a break-in procedure that we give out to the players, and it's a gradual break-in procedure. You want to hit around the full circumference of the bat. You want to start off slow, T-work, soft toss, into full speed pitching so that you gradually break in that barrel around the full circumference. Whereas aluminum bats, they're going to be as hot as ever right out the wrapper.
Interesting. Okay, so I should not go into the 100-mile-an-hour batting cage and start bunting with this to break
No
it
chance.
in. Okay,
No
all right.
chance. And it's funny because you'll see some dads that
Oh, I
think
bet.
that,
Oh, for sure.
I just bought this composite. I'm going to go break it in myself so my son doesn't have to take 300 cuts.
Right.
And all of a sudden it cracks on the first swing. Well, like, this bat wasn't built for you. You're a grown man. But, then you go to the aluminum side, and a lot of aluminum bats, being that they're hot right out the wrapper, they're going to be, better for some of the smaller players, medium-sized players, because those players might not be strong enough to compress this composite material. So they're going to perform better with the alloy barrels because there's no break-in procedure required.
Got it.
Well, I think what's interesting too is we've talked a little bit, and we'll talk here in a little bit about BPI of these 3 bats.
It's yeah.
But the
for sure
progression
it's
is
different,
definitely matches that, where the composite's going to be our highest BPI bat out of the 3, and the lowest is going to be the aluminum.
Well, I found the what you were talking about with the barrel interesting, and even putting these 2 bats here together, you can see that the composite, I guess the nature of the material, both in weight and physical property, allows you to get that barrel out to maximum diameter earlier, allows it to stay at maximum diameter. And even if I slide this guy in here, it's even a little more demonstrative when I can see, right down here, that barrel start to taper back on the connect.